All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Strange Planet Podcast, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about how the Republican Party, strangely, opened up an impeachment inquiry against Joe Biden with no evidence and using no facts. So this basically makes no sense at all. And with no evidence, that means there's no case. Meaning that, once again, the Republicans are just making shit up and wasting time. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications. And now Rook will give you a further breakdown on the impeachment inquiry here.
All right, so essentially earlier this week, the House Republicans opened a formal impeachment inquiry against President Joe Biden. This was a long time coming. The former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, was pushing for this. The MAGA Republicans in the House were pushing for this. And now Mike Johnson, who is even more of a Trump sycophant than his predecessor, is moving this ball forward. And so along party lines, Republicans in the House voted to pass a formal impeachment inquiry, which means that they will now have broad investigatory powers to investigate what they think is some sort of corruption and perhaps abuse of power and bribery on the part of the President of the United States. Now, all of the allegations, which I will say are completely unproven, have no evidence, are related to his son, Hunter Biden. As many of you out there know, Hunter Biden is the president's only surviving son, his older one having died of brain cancer a few years back. Hunter Biden has admittedly had a battle with drug addiction, and he recently was charged with various charges related to his failure to pay taxes, as well as lying on a gun application with respect to representing that he was not addicted to drugs. Now, we've talked about this previously on this channel, about how the lying on an application with respect to your drug addiction is not something that would be normally prosecuted. However, any of these allegations are related to things that Joe Biden has really nothing to do with.
Exactly.
Now, what they are suspicious of is Hunter Biden's international business dealings and whether or not those business dealings somehow involved his father getting involved and funneling money to Hunter Biden or some other members of the Biden family in exchange for favors. Now, there have been no favors, announced or identified by Republicans. So essentially, this is one big fishing expedition that House Republicans are going on. And so, I don't know, what do you guys think of this new development in the ongoing saga to bring down the Biden administration?
The whole thing just seems so, I'm not going to say pointless, but at the same time, it's just like, I feel like there's no evidence on any of this. But even that aside, the name we keep hearing is Hunter, not Joe. You know what I mean? So the only way I can see Joe at any fault is if there maybe is some evidence somewhere that states that he did, maybe give him some favors or was able to help him out with some of those business dealings. But like we just said, that so far there is no evidence that proves any of that. But as far as everything else goes that's related to this, it seems it's really all surrounded around Hunter. So if it's surrounded around Hunter, Hunter isn't running for president. So how would Joe get impeached for the actions of Hunter? You know what I mean?
That's the thing. They don't have a case. What they're looking to do, and this is also connected to their congressional subpoena of Hunter Biden, is fish for dirt. Now, there may not be any dirt there, but by God, are they going to fish for it and probably make some sort of case where they can just, draft articles of impeachment and hand them over to the Senate to say to their constituents, the Republican followers, that, hey, we're doing something about corrupt Joe Biden. That's all they really want to do here. They know that the Senate, which is currently controlled by Democrats, is not going to take these ridiculous, baseless allegations seriously.
Right.
Well, when I say they won't take them seriously, they're going to take it seriously in the sense that it's an actual impeachment inquiry and subsequently an impeachment. They'll take that use of congressional power seriously. But the actual underlying facts, of which there are very few and none of them leading to Joe Biden
Whatsoever. Yeah.
That it's really laughable if it weren't the fact that this is really an abuse of congressional power in a political way. Now, we've heard that charge before from Republicans when, on 2 occasions, the Democrats impeached President Trump. The difference here is that we actually had facts to
and evidence
back up the impeachment. Now, an inquiry is supposed to develop a case. It's supposed to develop facts further, but you have to start from somewhere. You have to start from some modicum of fact that would say that, hey, there's an abuse of power going on. Hey, there's a bribe. Hey, there's some sort of wrongdoing on the part of the president. And right here, we don't have that
at all.
There's nothing to say that they're not alleging President Biden did this policy because of Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. There's nothing. There's no allegations because there's no facts connecting any of Hunter Biden's business dealings to his father and his father's presidency.
Well, if you think about it in the long run, I mean, technically this might not be a surprise because when it comes to facts, the Republicans usually aren't really using those very much for anything that they ever do. So, like, in a sense, this might not be a big surprise that they're just opening up a case on baseless facts about accusations that they can't even have any evidence upon at the same time. You know what I mean? So, like, at the same time, this might not necessarily be a shocker, but I don't see the case. Like you said, like, I don't see it.
Well, I think for the Republicans, it's not so much that they can actually impeach him. It's that they can make it look like they're impeaching him. Because, you got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who were shoving that message down our throats while Trump was still going through his impeachment. You look at it now, this is them they've even pressured Kevin McCarthy to try to get the impeachment going, and he really didn't have enough evidence to actually do it, so he didn't. And then they like, oh, no vote of confidence, get him out, somebody else.
I can't help but also think that this is like almost once again the country fighting itself. Because I almost feel like, do you think in any way that this is just a spiteful act where, the Democrats, yeah, you know what I mean? Because like the Democrats obviously impeached Trump twice, but they had evidence and facts behind them and it was carried out and he was impeached twice. So now does this not seem to you like now they're just trying to throw the ball back and they don't even have enough information or evidence to do it, but they're going to try to do it anyway, just to rile people up?
They're going to try to do anything to make Joe Biden look bad.
Right.
This way they can get, Trump try to get back in office. Because they know without Trump, they have no chance to get the presidency. And with Trump being in his situation, they're going to do everything they can to, make their side look better. So, right. You're president. Now he's been impeached. Ha, 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 ha.
That's if it were to actually go through, but I don't see it as it stands right now. I really don't.
Yeah, but I could already see it. They're going to go. They're going to do it. It's going to get to the Senate. The Democrats are obviously not going to vote Biden to be impeached, so they're going to get backlash from the Republicans saying, "Oh, you're weak. You're this and that," and they're going to deflect everything that they did for Trump on the Democrats. Like, "Oh, you guys, you're not loyal to the country, that's that." And the other thing, you watch, it's going to be a whole like, "Oh, You guys are the worst. You guys are the worst. Look, your corrupt president, giving money to his son. God knows how much money that Donald Trump was giving his two idiots.
Right? Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, actually, because we're over here. One of the things on this inquiry was tax evasion or something, right?
Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily tax evasion. It was the fact that he did not pay sufficient taxes.
Didn't
It's
the
not like
ex-president do that too?
that is a completely so we're not going to play the game of Trump did this and Hunter
No,
Biden
right.
did that, but I wouldn't really classify it as evasion per se. He owes a lot of taxes to the IRS, according to the prosecution, and he failed to pay it. Whereas Trump, he used the tax code to his advantage and concealed, he manipulated documents, reporting his assets as higher in value or lower in value, depending on how it benefited him financially. And so that is it's a completely different scenario.
Right,
So
right.
we don't really want to conflate the two. Trump's charges are Trump's charges.
He's got
Hunter
lots.
Biden's charges are his own. So
Right.
I really don't want to get into the business of conflating the two.
No, that's true. This whole thing just to me seems just very strange because, like you were saying, Trump's obviously the front runner, and it doesn't look like no matter how many debates they have, we had the final four, I think it was last week or so, but like I don't think any of them really stand a chance. But I just find it strange that the front runner of the Republican Party has 91 indictments, and the Republican Party is pointing the finger at the Democrats, and there's no basis to it. You know what I mean? So like, you can't hide what's already out. Now, granted, if there is some fraudulent activity or there is something, then yeah, necessary actions will be done. But as of it stands right now, one, I don't see that happening. But two, it's almost like they're trying to make this the front line to hide what's, because, Americans are very, very easily forgetful about a lot of things. So right now, with this being front page news, 91 indictments is now, like under the table and forgotten probably by some. And they're still very much there. So it's just, I find this whole situation just very strange and just not sensible, really.
Well, what's strange is that Democrats play fair. They play by the rules, they play by the law, and sometimes that means Democrats will lose. One of the two parties has to uphold the rules and the law and honesty. And yeah, the Democratic Party has its flaws. It's
Right.
not perfect, but look at the situation here. You have a Democratic president who is running for re-election. His son is being prosecuted currently by a Republican, okay? If this were the Trump administration, that prosecutor would have been replaced before he even got a chance to indict him.
That is true.
The prosecutor has been allowed to conduct his investigation and to bring whatever charges he wants against the president's son. This is the Democrats playing fair. And the Republicans have the nerve to say and allege that Hunter Biden is getting a sweetheart deal. Hunter Biden had a deal on the table, which was revoked by the court. The court rejected the deal, and now he's faced with even more charges. So what I would love to put out there is that the notion that Democrats are somehow playing favorites and playing politics with the judicial process and with the process of justice, that's just not true. You see it in the form of these indictments against the president's son. Did any of the former president's children get indicted? No, they didn't. You had Ivanka Trump hawking her clothing line,
Right.
while she was an employee of the White House, Kellyanne Conway, in violation of federal law, was basically advertising Ivanka's clothing line. And while the GAO said, the Government Accountability Office said, oh, that's bad, violation of the Hatch Act, nothing was ever done about it.
Right. It's like we look the other way.
Because that's really the executive branch's prerogative to move on those actions in terms of either prosecution or some other corrective action using the legal process. That wasn't done.
Right.
Under the Trump administration. The President Biden's son under the Biden administration is facing the justice system. And some might argue that he's getting a worse deal than if he were just some random person.
Right.
Because if someone who's addicted to drugs and the drugs are illegal, they're not going to say to the federal government, hey, on their gun application, hey, I'm doing drugs, I'm addicted to drugs. Like, they're not going to write that on the application. They're going to do whatever they can to preserve their drug addiction. And while that is wrong, we also have to understand that is what an addict will do. And so, the Republicans just love to attack the Democrats for playing politics, but there are no politics being played here by the Democrats. Hunter Biden is getting scrutinized, and perhaps, somewhat rightfully so, for his taxes. If he didn't pay sufficient taxes, he needs to pay for it. And, if you want to go after him for lying on his gun application about being a drug addict, most of the time that doesn't happen to people. But if you want to go by the letter of the law and punish him for it, okay, so be it. But to turn around and try to pin that on Joe Biden, that is not going to happen.
Right? Ridiculous.
But Trump and his supporters, and generally the Republican Party, will buy into that. And it's so easy once, certain rumors go flying around that circle. It's just easy to just say, well, the whole Democratic Party is corrupt. Look at, Burisma, laptop. They have these buzzwords that just resonate with them, and they don't have to mean anything. There don't have to be facts behind them. Somewhere Hunter Biden had a laptop and it was recovered, and there was bad shit on the laptop, even though, where is that? He's not being prosecuted for it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you can say all you want about the laptop and Burisma, but until you present facts, that the public can see, I don't want to hear that shit.
Right. And
I really don't.
And as far as the inquiry goes, the Republicans wanted to do this enclosed, right? Not publicly. But then Hunter Biden says that he wanted to do this publicly.
Yeah. So the congressional Republicans wanted to kick this whole thing off by having Hunter Biden come to Congress and testify pursuant to their investigation. Now, what Republicans didn't predict was that Hunter Biden said, okay, I will come to Congress and I will speak before the public for the entire country to see what I have to say, have the Republican congressional members ask me questions. I will answer them publicly. So he basically called their bluff.
Right.
And Republicans quickly pivoted to, nope, we want to have it behind closed doors, private hearings, public doesn't get to see. Meanwhile, they were crying about having public hearings when Trump was impeached. Mind you, the Democrats in part held private hearings because of national security concerns, which were implicated by the crimes for which President Trump was eventually charged. This had to do with national security. And so you don't really want to be asking those probative questions in a public setting. You can ask some questions, but while you're trying to establish certain facts surrounding things. We really want to, not have the rest of the world, especially Russia, with whom one of the impeachments dealt with. We don't want them to listen in on our conversations there. But it's just the private hearings here appear to just be an opportunity for Republicans to control the narrative, to say that, well, Hunter Biden came in and he dodged some questions and he sounded shady, and maybe if they pick up some facts or admissions about something, they'll totally go off on a tangent and connect it to something else and provide speculation and say that he wasn't cooperative. They'll have the power to spin the narrative. Whereas if Hunter Biden, who is a private citizen, there's no, national security implications with respect to any of his testimony, or at least nothing that has been alleged. So he can definitely come forward if he's volunteering to come forward in a public setting to be questioned by Republicans. And the fact that Republicans will not give him that just shows you that their whole aim to this is political.
Exactly. Because in doing this privately, public can't see. They can spin this however they want, stretch the truth, add some shit. Who's going to know? You know what I mean? And then it's just going to make a clusterfuck of lies, and no one's going to know what to believe, really. And they can make shit up, and we're just going to go along with it, apparently. But if it was public, that changes everything.
Does Russia have oil reserves, like their own oil wells and stuff?
Russia is one of the major manufacturers of oil. They have access to their own oil. I'm sure they also get some from the Middle East as well, probably, if I'm not mistaken. They probably get it from the OPEC countries as well. But yeah, they also produce their own oil. Why do you ask?
I'm glad you asked that, because I'm wondering if all of this nonsense going on with the Republican Party and even with Trump has anything to do with their oil. It's all down to money, really. And oil is still the big number one, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, that's something you could definitely speculate on, but there's no way of literally knowing just yet. But like it's possible, I suppose. Like I wouldn't say it's not, but I don't know for sure either. You know what I mean? Like, but I would assume it's certainly possible, I guess.
Because I can't think of anything else that would make the Republican Party do the things they're doing.
They just want to win, and they want power, and they want to run pretty much like a dictatorship, because it's becoming the party of Trump. There really isn't that many actual Republicans anymore.
I was going to say, I think it's more of a question of human nature and human behavior and behavioral psychology at both a personal and a societal level. You have groups, you can call them tribes of people who have opposing ideas about what society should look like and how individuals should treat each other. You have these huge fundamental differences that have been exacerbated over the years. And so, yes, money has a lot to do with why our country and our politics is messed up. But that is also, I think our politics is also harmed heavily and influenced heavily by personal and societal psychology. And once that ball is rolling in terms of tribal sort of rivalries, and it gets very personal to people, and just doing whatever it takes, whether that's lie, cheat, steal, kill, in the case of the insurrection, whatever you can do to make your Republicans lose. It's not really about control, but it's about getting your way and denying others their way. It's not enough that people can choose whether to have abortions or not. It's whether you can get an abortion in either this state or, as the Republicans are now pushing, this entire country. And that has nothing to do with money. It has to do with conflicting psychology and a sort of virus that's taken hold in our society in terms of unrelenting back and forth, win at all odds mentality.
I agree. Yeah, no, that's well said. That's true. Never really looked at it that way in a psychological standpoint, but that makes perfect sense. Really does.
It does. If you look at it from any point of view, whether it's political or economical or even cultural, it's all a sense of just getting more, being the winner, being on top, being ahead.
Right. And if you're not on top or ahead, you're more likely to feel vulnerable and you know, you feel exposed, and so you sort of like lash out at those who you perceive are your enemies. And I think that explains a lot of what the Republican Party, their constituency, is going through.
And that's our show for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Strange Planet will have new episodes on YouTube every Friday. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.